everyone, Hamer back with another Mission Impossible episode review. Glad to get back into the swing of things. I am going to be reviewing Season 3, Episode 7, which is called The Elixir. So to start off, Jim goes to a small theater for his instructions. The mission is to stop Riva Santel, widow of the president of San Cordoba and the real power behind the throne, from staging a coup in her country so that free elections can be conducted. We go back to the dossiers for this one. It's the usual team, but we also have plastic surgeon Paul von Brugner. The team discusses their strategy, and it's clear that said strategy focuses on Riva's lust for power and youth. Off we head to San Cordoba, where acting President Tomas tells Riva he will stop her from making a speech to the country because he knows she's going to start riots before Election Day. Jim and Cinnamon arrive at Riva's palace and send a letter up to her, ostensibly from her dead husband, saying that they have permission to do a documentary. Riva allows her secretary and apparent lover, Raul, to allow them in and confirms she'll cooperate with them, thinking she will put her best foot forward with her plans by doing so. Raul doesn't like it, but Riva says it's good cover for the crew she plans to bring in for her special broadcast. Barney and Willie come in as production staff, with Willie swapping one of the books in the library. Cinnamon starts hitting it off with Riva, but slips during conversation and almost says she's been in the theater for 50 years before catching herself. Riva starts to dismiss it, but here's Barney and Willie basically confirming with some snide remarks how long Cinnamon has actually been around. The interview with Riva begins, and Cinnamon selects a book that Willie swapped, which is a picture history of the country, and finds a picture of herself in it from 1914, causing her to cut the session short. And the IMF allows Riva to overhear their discussion about something is wearing off, and Cinnamon hopes the doctor will be there soon. Riva checks the book and sees the picture, piquing her interest. Dr. Rollin arrives soon after for Cinnamon, and Riva confronts Jim about the picture, figuring that Cinnamon must be over 70 years old. Jim doesn't give her an answer, rushing Rollin into the house. Riva and Raul go knock on Cinnamon's door and see her as an old woman, but shortly thereafter she returns as her normal self. The IMF admits the truth. Cinnamon is nearly 70, and Rollin uses special techniques with silicone and lasers to keep her face looking young. One prize, no guesses as to what happens next. Riva tells Rollin she wants him to fix her face the same way, and he says he could do it the next day when his assistant arrives. Raul reminds her about the speech tomorrow evening, but she wants to proceed, given that Rollin won't have another date for some time. Riva and Raul meet with their general to go over the final arrangements for the planned rioting and general mayhem after her speech, and the communication will be cut off other than the speech itself. Rollin arranges to get a limousine identical to Riva's, as Willie and Barney continue to work on the space between the library and the studio, putting a tap through a power outlet. I was so disappointed at this point, just a side note, not to see the awesome reverse ratchety screwdriver, but oh well. They confirm that they can see Riva's podium for their plans tomorrow. Raul catches Barney in the room, but he uses a whole bunch of technical jargon to confuse him and allows himself out. Riva comes to the studio in the morning to tape her speech before the surgery, just in case something goes wrong later, and it will be kept absolutely secret, the tape of the speech, that is. Jim arrives with Dr. von Brugner. Some oaf accidentally kicks out the plug that the IMF set up. Fortunately for them, another helpful hand plugs it back in, and they're able to make their own recording of Riva's speech. While the general takes the crew away to keep them quiet, Raul takes the tape and puts it in the safe behind the podium. Barney's zoom control allows him to get the combination to the safe. Riva heads to the operating room with Rollin and the doctor doing their thing. Meanwhile, Willie paints the limo with their presidential colors as Barney starts doctoring the tape of Riva's speech. In the end, Riva is put to rest, sedated with bandages on her face. Officer Jim takes Cinnamon, sort of made up to be Riva, in the presidential limo. Cinnamon uses Riva's voice as best she can, tells Tomas's office to have all the important people at the palace at 6, and Barney swaps his doctored tape for the one that was made earlier. Since Riva isn't ready for her proper speech at 6, Raul has to run the tape. The limo goes to the border, where Jim tells the guard that Riva wishes to leave the country quietly, and asks them to call Tomas and tell him that she is safely away. Tomas gets the call, already at the palace, quite confused. The speech begins, and of course it's not at all what Riva said in her speech. To everyone's surprise, she says she's quitting public life. Tomas and the others are enjoyed, while Riva, of course, demands to have her bandages taken off and to find out what's going on. With the bandages off, Riva finds herself to have the face of a lovely young woman, but who decidedly does not look as she did. She heads downstairs, accusing Tomas of setting her up, but is dragged away by guards as Roland heads out, joining Barney in the truck. Mission accomplished. I'm going to give this episode a grade of a D+. It's kind of on the border of D+ and C- from where I sit. Let's talk about the good. Ruth Roman as Riva is a fine actress. She's engaging. She has a really good presence on the screen. Not boring, not in the least. It's really too bad because there are so few female antagonists on the show that she really gets kind of a bad, almost stereotypical plot. And unfortunately, she's just a lame schmuck all the way through. It's a pennies from heaven plot. Give the mark exactly what he or she wants, in this case what she wants, and just not in the way that they expect, and they just fall for it hook, line, and sinker. So in terms of a challenge, there's really not much of that here. There is good teamwork. Everybody has a role, everybody plays it well, so I do like that. Ruth Roman gets one, 2 X's out of 3, but at least she's got one of them, and so it's not down in the dumps, certainly. In terms of like the quality of this episode. What's not good? There's a lot of padding, especially in the last act, to the time in the operating room and Barney doctoring the tape. Just far too much. I was actually surprised to see it. I didn't remember there being that much padding in this episode, but there really is in that last act. And the pace of the episode just slows down ridiculously. I didn't like that. The ending is really, really, really predictable. It's almost Disney-esque, is what I would call it. You can see this coming from a mile away. It's one of those things. I mean, could you predict the whole episode and what's going to happen? Maybe not exactly how the IMF is going to pull it off, but you know what they're going to do. Right, you know what they're going to exploit, and you know kind of how it's going to work. They're going to mess Riva up because she's greedy for youth. So that's not good. Also not good. Morgan Stern as Raoul. This guy is just a downer. I don't know what else to say about it. When he's on my screen, I just want him to go away. I'm sorry, it's nothing personal. I say it a lot. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but he's just literally a Debbie Downer every time I see him on the screen. He's just got this look on his face where he's just like, I don't know, just his body language is just really, really a drag. We're going to see him again in an episode next season called Time Bomb. So if you're a fan of the show, you're probably familiar with where I'm going with that. And, he's actually the target in that episode. And boy, I'll repeat this and in more detail when we get to that one. His presence just is not, I don't know, it's never, ever, ever worked for me on the show in any episode. Anyway, that's that for this one. Thank you all for listening as always. Please like this video, please subscribe to my channel, and please leave your comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.